کهکشان مقاومت ایران 1402 کنفرانس دادخواهی، محاکمه سران رژیم آخوندی به خاطر جنایت علیه بشریت و نسل کشی، سخنرانیهای شخصیتهای سیاسی و حقوقی، قانونگذاران، وکلا و کارشناسان ویژه ملل متحد از کشورهای مختلف جهان.
سخنرانیهای آناند گروور، گزارشگر ویژه ملل متحد برای حق درمان 2014، ایرنه ویکتوریا ماسیمینو، مدیر قانونی بنیاد لمکین برای مقابله با نسل کشی از آرژانتین.
آناند گروور، گزارشگر ویژه ملل متحد برای حق درمان 2014. من که از مدافعان قوی حقوق زنان در هند هستم، خوشحالم که رهبری این جنبش در دستان یک زن بسیار توانا، خانم مریم رجوی است. و من مطمئن هستم که در آینده زنان جوانی خواهند بود که رهبری این جنبش را ادامه خواهند داد.
برای من این عالی ترین لحظات است که انسان‌هایی با اعتقاد والای بشری هستند که به امری بسیار ساده اعتقاد دارند و آماده پذیرش مرگ هستند. این سرنوشتی شگفت‌انگیز از تلاش انسان است که بتواند آن را انجام بدهد.
اگر تاریخ را بخوانید، از ژاکوبن در فرانسه تا انقلاب روسیه، افراد بزرگ در همین لحظه سقوط کردند. اما این 30,000 نفر ثابت قدم میمانند و به آنها گفته شد شما با ما هستید یا با مجاهدین. اگر با مجاهدین بمانی کشته میشوی. و آنها به ایمان و اعتقاد خود وفادار ماندند.
ناکامی جامعه بین المللی حقوق بشر در اقدام تأثیر مخربی بر بازماندگان و خانواده‌ها و همچنین بر وضعیت عمومی حقوق بشر در ایران داشته است و رژیم ایران را جری کرده تا به پنهان نگه داشتن سرنوشت قربانیان و حفظ استراتژی انحراف و انکار ادامه دهد که تا به امروز ادامه دارد.
ایران آزاد زودتر از چیزی که فکرش را بکنید محقق خواهد شد. در طول زندگی شما این اتفاق رخ خواهد داد. باید به آن باور داشته باشید، چون مبارزه شما عادلانه است.
Today we are meeting here to remember those 30,000 or so Iranian citizens and my comrades executed in 1988 by the Iranian regime, the crime against humanity, to ensure that the struggle is not forgotten but becomes an impetus for continued struggle and final victory towards a free Iran, Azadi Iran. I want to thank the organizers of this very important meeting of the National Council of Resistance of the Iran movement and call for justice for inviting me to join in their efforts to get justice for those who were executed. I must tell you that I have learned a lot today. And it actually, I get a chill down my spine when I think about the way the Iranian regime executed these people. Being a strong proponent of women's rights in India, I'm glad to note that the leadership of this movement is in the hands of a very capable woman, Ms. Meriem Rejui. And I'm sure that in the future, like another speaker said, there'll be young women who will actually continue the leadership of this movement. You know, there is a myth that in Islamic groups, women are not encouraged in leadership positions. I'm glad that you have smashed this myth. I'm also glad to note that the resistance movement comprises different groups with different ideas, but with a very clear common aim: to get rid of the repressive mullah leadership in Iran and have a free Iran, Azad Iran. For a long time, the regime in Iran did not let the relatives of those executed know of their fate or death or whereabouts. This is despite thousands of demands by the Iranians and the international community. For a long time, there was no admission of the fate of those executed. Later, in various interviews, some of those in power admitted that those people were executed because of the fatwa or decree passed by highest authority to execute those who remained loyal to the Mujahideen. I want to pause here for a moment. You know, for me, this is one of the finest movements for people who believe in something so simple. I will not agree with you, and I'm prepared to die. Can you think of this? It's an amazing fate of human effort to be able to do it. Please appreciate the conviction of their beliefs, their bravery, and the courage of their conviction. And if you read history, from the Jacobin in France to the Russian Revolution, big people have fallen at this precise moment. But these 30,000 people, they remained steadfast, and they were told, are you with us or with the Mujahideen? If you remain with the Mujahideen, you'll be dead. And they stayed loyal to their faith and their conviction. There cannot be a higher duty than that. I don't know whether I would be able to do the same in the circumstances. A chill, as I said, goes down my spine whenever I think about these people. I can only salute the brave and courageous people of Iran who gave up their life for an idea. And that's why I'm very glad that I've come to see this today. And what is that idea? It is an idea that one can have a belief different from those who rule in a society, and they can voice it without any reprisal. It is an idea that a people of different faiths, thoughts, ethnicity, race, gender can live in the same societies as sisters and brothers and exercise their thoughts by speech and beliefs without any reprisal or free from reprisal. It is that idea that even if you actually take a particular point of view, then you will be safe. It is also an idea that if you have done wrong in leadership as the state, you will be taken into account. That is the future of idea of free Iran, in my opinion. And I must tell you that when I thought about this talk today, it reminded me of our constitution makers in India, because ours was a country ruled by the British, and we had the same problem of so many religions. Of course, the dominant is Hindus. And the real issue before the nationalist leadership, the freedom movement, was how to shape India. And the British felt that we could never have a democratic, free India with constitutional liberties. But we did. And that is a marvel which I always am proud of. But what is that? And it's encapsulated in the preamble of the Constitution. And what does it say? We, the people of India, have solemnly resolved to constitute India into a republic. What is the meaning of a republic? It is not a leader who decides. It is the people who have given that power to that leader. Very important. And what we will do? Justice, which is social, economic, and political. So victims of those 30,000 people are entitled to justice in such a society. Then liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. That is exactly what they were exercising. Equality of status and opportunity, that everybody is treated equally. The fatwa by the leader, he is not supreme. He is equal to the people. And most importantly, to promote among them all fraternity, assuring dignity of the individual. So in my opinion, those 30,000 people were actually fighting for this. This is encapsulated in the preamble of our Constitution. In my opinion, the preamble encapsulates what those 30,000 people believed in. And I'm sure the vast majority of people in Iran also want the same, like people all over the world. I have a lot of faith in people, and including people in Iran. In the memory of those victims in 1988, let us strive to achieve this in the long run. This is indeed, in my opinion, the prescription for free Iran. I'm not just saying it. I was going around the exhibition today, and I saw a writing by one of the women, Monita Rajavi. If you have a chance, just go to it and see. She was a student of Newcastle University. And what did she say? It's very poignant. They want to destroy our human identity. We must fight back. The way to do this is to care more for one another. This is indeed a prescription for all humanity. You have to fight back against injustice, but not with injustice, but caring for people. So those people who were executed need justice to be delivered to them. We must keep on demanding from the Iranian government, as people have demanded before us, provide accurate information on the fate and whereabouts of the individuals who are no more, provide accurate death certificates, stop threats and harassment of families of those who were executed, and most importantly, which you all have highlighted, investigate and prosecute those responsible. Impunity. This is the most difficult thing to achieve in Iran today, but it is the most important in the short and the long run. It is here that the international community must put their weight to support efforts to get justice for the victims. Of course, we must have more trials like those of the Stockholm District Court convicting Hamid Nouri. This can be done by lawyers around the world. There must be more Kenneth Lewis's. The failure of the international human rights community to act has had a devastating impact on the survivors and the families as well as on the general situation of human rights in Iran, and emboldened the Iranian regime to continue to conceal the fate of victims and maintain a strategy of deflection and denial that continues till date. These need to be tackled urgently. Let us make a plan to do that in the near future, ensure that inquiry into executions of 1988 is conducted by the UN in accordance with the long-standing demand. And if that is not possible, an independent body of judicial members, which is not necessarily the UN. If the UN is dragging its feet, why can't we think of constituting an independent judicial member body which will look into it? That's another way of putting pressure. With bravery and courage of the Iranian people, all this will be achieved. Martin Luther King said, "Injustice anywhere is threat to justice everywhere." So So in all this, I can assure you of my support for your very, very just struggle and for an Azad Iran. Free Iran or Azad Iran will happen sooner than you think. It will happen in your lifetime. That's how you have to believe, because your struggle is just. As a lawyer, I always tell my clients, if your case is just, you will win. And never lose hope. I want to congratulate you for your immense strength and courage to tackle this ruthless regime. You will replace them, don't you worry. Thank you very much.
ایرنه ویکتوریا ماسیمینو، مدیر قانونی لمکین برای مقابله با نسل‌کشی از آرژانتین. اقدامات وحشیانه‌ای که امروز در ایران جریان دارد، شباهت‌هایی با کشتار 1367 دارد که با دستور خمینی مبنی بر اعدام 30,000 نفر از زندانیان سیاسی در زندان‌های ایران آغاز شد. خانم مریم رجوی عزیز، چه افتخاری برای زنان جهان است که شما را در این مقام رهبری یک زن قوی، باهوش و با شخصیت می‌بینم. برای شما بهترین ها را آرزو می‌کنم و می‌دانم که موفق خواهید شد.
Thank you. I am filled with humility after seeing these videos of the victims and survivors of the 1988 massacre. It's a huge responsibility for me to speak at this moment, so I thank you all for this opportunity. Good afternoon to everyone, distinguished guests, colleagues, panelists, friends, who I now can call friends for the few hours we spent together. Dear Mariam, Madame Mariam Rajavi, what an honor for the women of the world to see you in this leadership position, a strong, intelligent, a woman of character, so thank you. I wish you all the best, and I know you will succeed. Thank you very much to all of the organizers for this relevant international conference. Thank you especially for the NGO Justice for the Victims of the 1988 Massacre, who gave me the honor today to be present and to have the opportunity to speak. I would also like to express my solidarity and my condolences to the victims and relatives of the victims of Iran's past and current regimes. I also want to express my most profound admiration to the men and women, their courage and strength, who publicly opposed and continue to oppose to Iran's autocratic regime, and who claim for a better future of freedom and peace in Iran. The barbaric acts of today have concerning similarities with the 1988 massacre, which started with Ayatollah Khomeini's order in July of that year to execute an estimate of 30,000 people, political prisoners, in Iranian jails. The 1988 massacre was carried out by current president of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, one of the 4 members of the death committee for Tehran at that time. The lack of accountability for the perpetrators of 1988 massacre and of justice and recognition for the victims is directly linked to the institutional crimes committed today. Impunity is a crime by itself. A few years earlier, between 1976 and 1983, as my colleague and co-national said previously, in my own country, Argentina, a civil military dictatorship unfolded into the bloodiest of 6 dictatorships Argentina suffered during the 20th century. The links between the crimes committed by the military juntas during those years and the 1988 massacre in Iran have unfortunately common characteristics. In both cases, laws were passed to legitimize institutional violence. In Argentina, the military juntas officially called for a national reorganization process. In Iran, a fatwa was passed ordering the execution of imprisoned opposition. In both cases, the number of victims of the authoritarian regimes rose to approximately 30,000 individuals. And in both cases, enforced disappearances became a widespread atrocity. When I went to the displays that you beautifully put today, I looked at the images, the photos, and I read the different writings below the photos, and I thought that the practices were similar. There were 14, 16, 18-year-old children executed by the regime in Iran. The most amount of victims of the Argentine dictatorship were between the age of 18 and 35, but a lot of them were younger than that. They went down to 16, students in high school, for example, for claiming for a cheaper ticket of the bus to go to school. The crime of enforced disappearance became a common practice not only in Argentina, but in many countries of South American dictatorships in the 1970s and 1980s. Moreover, the intelligence agencies of the military dictatorships of Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Bolivia, Paraguay, and Brazil, which formed the sadly worldwide known Plan Condor, enhanced the crime of enforced disappearances. The Plan Condor became an illicit association which coordinated its efforts to enforce the disappearance of political dissidents. Fortunately, the Argentine courts have ruled and continue to rule today that the political crimes committed in Argentina amount to crimes against humanity, but also to genocide, because a sufficient part of the national Argentine group was destroyed during that time. The similarities between Iran and Argentina continue, and I hope one day we can achieve justice for you all. From a legal perspective, the crime of enforced disappearance has a unique characteristic, uncommon to many crimes. It is an ongoing crime. It produces effects for as long as the disappearance exists. A permanent or ongoing crime is constituted by an unlawful prolonged action without interruption in time. In Iran, this crime started in 1988, and it's not over. Moreover, unlike other crimes of human rights violations, the crime of enforced disappearance is not defined by a particular action, but as the continuous absence of documents and bodies, dead or alive, related to the victims. For 35 years, families and friends of the Iranian disappeared have been longing for the bodies of their loved ones, for documentation and information that would allow them to know exactly what happened to them, where they are. The psychological trauma provoked by the permanent presence of the absent body is overwhelming. We must stop this cycle by supporting any judicial process of accountability. Moreover, accountability also identifies perpetrators helping to destroy frameworks of criminal power. The international community as a whole and countries which have accepted its fundamental principles and values, such as my own Argentina, which has a rich history and presence of accountability for atrocity crimes, as I mentioned, are obliged to support, encourage, and facilitate any type of justice process for victims of Iran's 1988 massacre. In the absence of justice, the threat to peace and security is latent. Impunity reigns, and the risk of new human rights violations and atrocity crime is perpetuated. Reports and statements by international organizations and countries are insufficient, and they fill desks of bureaucrats. True judicial accountability is the only way to providing help in the construction of a free, peaceful, and democratic Iran. I want to end with a wish to conclude this presentation that you all can go back to a peaceful and free Iran, and that Iranians in Iran can live in peace. I hope I can accompany you in this journey. Thank you.